right on schedule for Brock, which is unusual, right? We're just talking about Garoppolo. When it comes to that, our quarterbacks on schedule recovery times, it does not feel like it's the norm.
Trey is another guy, right, that it felt like had a little setback with the foot last year. I mean, they were not surprised, but they were happy when he was just able to be cleared.
Yeah, there's been some debate as to whether or not we talked about it, whether or not it was a setback or not, or just
John Lynch said it was, not an ideal situation. I think his words were. So, which is ultimately irrelevant once he was quote unquote out for the season on IR. But Kyle last year had a great line that said, "No one's guaranteed we all could die tomorrow." He had a line last week about Purdy that only God knows. Did you see that? When asked if he thought that Purdy would be, full go by sometime during training camp. And the one thing that's nice about this recovery, the way it was laid out at the 3-month mark, right? Or whatever the exact date is, could be a little less, could be a little more, is that you get an idea if he's going to be able to play this season. In terms of if in a month he's getting swelling, can't throw, then you just know you got a serious problem on your hands. Where I think a lot of times it's like at the 5 or 6 month mark, he can start running again. And then that's a lot of times when you find out like, oh, the knee's swelling up. Well, actually that 6 month has carried so much ground that you're already out of season in any of these sports. And listen, it happens. I mean, there is, I'm not trying to be negative because I'm rooting for him based on what I saw last year. He was fucking awesome. There is no guarantee, right? And that's, I think, in fairness to Kyle's negativity, he is right of like, no one really knows until he starts throwing. What do athletes always say? How I recover. You never know, like how your body reacts. A lot of guys hesitate and it takes a while to get confident on it. So it's going to be a legit process. That's one thing we'll know.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, is there any after effect even once he's fully healthy? Is there a mental hurdle to overcome? Is his arm as strong? Remember what this offseason was going to be about, getting his arm even a little bit stronger.
Remember that Navarro Bowman story? Now, it's obviously his knee was snapped, but it took him to practice.
Peter King wrote that it took him 4 hours to get ready every day, which Navarro said wasn't totally true, but
he was never the same. And again, I'm not comparing the two apples to apples, but my point is just like, you never know with injuries.
Yeah.
And this is one that's, I think we have a pretty good history right with baseball pitchers. Some guys, fine, keep rocking and rolling, and some guys just never quite the same.
Well, Strasburg's had, 2 Tommy Johns? And they babied him, too, early in his career?
Is he MIA right now with it?
I don't know where he is. Did he retire? Remember that was it his first year? They brought him up, and it was like he's going to pitch whatever the number was, 100 innings. And they made the playoffs. And they shut him down. He did not pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, I think he'd had a previous Tommy John, and he had another Tommy John. I don't know. Is he still what team's he on? Quick. Padres?
I think he's still on the Nationals, isn't he?
Oh, okay.
Bryce Harper had it. He's back rocking and rolling, hitting bombs.
That's true.
Little different, I think, for a guy that not dependent on throwing full go, right? He still has to throw.
60-day IL. Only 34 years old, Strasburg. Won a championship. I mean.
Yeah, made a lot of coin.
I heard a thing today. I heard Brian Kenny ranting about it. He's like, the Nats and the Padres almost have the same record. I don't know if that's currently the case, but
I would say baseball records, a lot of times, like 94 win teams, when you look at their record in like early June, they can be like 3 games above 500. It can throw you off.
Nats have 23 wins. The Padres have 24 wins.
It's just so different. Like football, it's rare. Like a 5-4 team is like the Chiefs. Like usually the best teams in the NFL are like 7-2. Where in baseball, a team right now could be 31-29, and it's like they could end up being a dominant 96 win team that just rolls through the playoffs.
Yeah. Or the Marlins.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, exactly. If you're Brock, I think we've talked about this a few times from this perspective. Put yourself in Brock's shoes. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, these guys all talk like you're the starter. We all talk like you're the starter. The whole situation is you're the starter. But
he's been named the starter when healthy.
He's been named the starter when healthy. But when you're in his shoes, you're the guy who hasn't been able to do the one thing that your livelihood most depends on for 3 months, which is throw a football. Then you look up and you got Trey Lance, who beat you out last year. And you got this other guy, Sam Darnold, who, Brock was a big time recruit and a big time college football player, but the quarterback room is not. When you walk into the quarterback room, it's not a room of two guys with a QB coach that have just been patiently waiting for you to return so they can hand the job off to you.
Yeah.
And even though that is the way this thing is set up, I think if you're Brock, you probably want to get back on the field, reestablish with, you've got all these teammates that believe in you. You haven't been leading them for 2 or 3 years. You led them for half a season. So I would think there's, even though the point is like, this goes back to what you said about Kyle earlier. It's easy to just sit back and assume it's all going to work itself out. But we've just watched the 49ers and we've watched sports, but the 49ers specifically quarterback situations long enough now to know that they often do not just follow the same script of what's supposed to happen happens. And I think it's safe to say that something this year bizarre is going to happen. Whatever that means, I have no idea. But I mean, and it's not just that it's a 49ers story or a West Coast story. While we were talking, I saw this just pop up in my timeline. Just Amazon Prime NFL video, for whatever reason, just posted, if Brock doesn't start for the Niners in week 1, who should? It's a photo of Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. Okay. This is May 30th at 2:03 Pacific. They just posted some content, right?
God, Trey.
I know. I know. Darnold's got the hat on. Darnold, they say he's young, but this photo,
God, he looks like 40. Jesus.